Hey, welcome to the Relevant Development Podcast. I am your host, Juan. New setup, a little bit, changed the room around a little bit, got some more decor and stuff, but y'all don't even care about that. Excited for season 4. Welcome to season 4, guys. Have some great guests. I know that you probably heard me say this 100 different times. What you have to look forward to is some great guests talking about great intentional leadership, maintaining, retaining, and hiring staff, HR issues. Man, I'm trying to think of who else is on there dealing with difficult situations during work time, where personal life kind of goes into work life. Like, how do we come back to work from maybe a tragedy in the family or things like that, and how do we pivot with work? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Anyways, what I want to get into today is something that I've been speaking on as I've been traveling around the United States, that by the time we get to it and through it in the either keynote or in the training, we don't have a whole lot of time to really sit and get deep into. I'm going to get a little bit deeper into it today, but yeah, I want to pose a question to you. Do you have issues with having difficult conversations as an employee, as a boss, as husband, wife, father, mother, pick your title, pick your hat? Do you have issues having difficult conversations with people? To me, this will help you. Like, how do we solve it? How do we solve having difficult conversations, or the issues having difficult conversations? Solution number 1, let's just get into it. You have to start to have difficult conversations with yourself. So I was upset with myself in how I was living. I didn't like the things about me, both internal and external. And so I long story short, I had to make some changes, right? I tell people in some of my, depending on the keynote that I give, that I had a receding hairline. I didn't like it. And so I shaved off my hair. I didn't like my teeth because I felt like my bottom teeth were throwing gang signs. And so I got braces, and I wanted to be in a place where I was at a place where I was not happy with myself. And it took a lot of ganas, moxie, balls, whatever you wanted to say, to come forward and say that. And there might have been people out there that say, dude, Juan needs to shave his head, or man, Juan would look way different if you got braces. And that probably would hurt coming from either somebody I love or somebody I care about, but I had to say it. I had to look in the mirror and say, I'm not happy with X, I'm not happy with Y, I'm not happy with Z. Let's get it done. And not keep dwelling on it and get into and stay into the victim mentality, but really be into the solution mentality. And I tell my boys all the time, stop having victim mentality and start having victor mentality. Like, if there's a choice and an option to succeed over have an issue, problem, and fail, why choose that when success is an option? So I went out and did those things. As a leader, I tell people that I had a really bad evaluation from a staff member, and it bothered me. I had tons of other great evaluations, but I was stuck on this one that was so horrible, which birthed me getting into Gallup Strengths and taking the strengths assessment, and then wanting to become a trainer in Gallup Strengths. And so now I'm Gallup Certified Strengths Finder Coach. There is something about, like, there is a release, a weight off your shoulders when you can say, I have this problem, I have the solution, or I have this problem, I need a solution, let's get to work. And then you just grind and go to work. So much happier after I shaved my head, much happier after I got my braces. And here's the thing, there's an outcome. I tell people, what hat do you wear? What is the value that you bring? And then what's the outcome, right? So there's a value behind cutting my hair off, right? What's the outcome? I don't have to get ready. I can get ready sooner. I don't have to spend money on hair products. I don't spend money on getting, plugs or a hair piece or anything like that. And then what is the outcome? Save time, save money, and it's just easier, right? Teeth, right? There's a value in having straight teeth. What is the value? What is the value is having straight teeth. What's the outcome? I smile a heck of a lot more because of confidence, because of a better smile. I'm not, there's more confidence. There's less self-criticism against myself. And I smile a heck of a lot more. And people always used to tell me, like, Juan, you always seem angry. You're not approachable. And because you have this like RBF going on. But now I smile a lot more because my teeth are fixed. Like, there's value, and then there's the outcome. There's value. Sometimes the value hurts a little bit, right? You can buy a car and you're happy about it, but your bank account isn't. You had so much money saved and you saw those zeros and commas in your account, and now you don't, right? So there's some good value and then there's a bad value in that sense, or bad feeling. But there's got to be this thing that says, I'm not happy with myself and I need to do something about it. So when we have this self-realization piece, it's a game changer. One of my mentors in business and in speaking is Rory Vaden. And Rory Vaden tells me, what problem are you solving? And so my answer is complacency. What's the answer to complacency? Intentionality. But what's the formula? Like, what do you need? And then that next piece is self-realization. When there's complacency, things start to happen. Things start to grow and fester that shouldn't be there. And you have to say, I see it. I don't like it. I need to change it. That's a self-realization piece. And then intentionality. So I'll tell you something that Jim Rohn says that I tell a lot of people when I speak is he says, you have to learn how to love like a mother and hate like a father. Bro, that's rough. Like not all dads and fathers are hateful and angry, but this is his explanation. So bear with me. You have to learn to hate like a father and love like a mother. It is our intuition as men to protect, to guard and protect. It's a woman's intuition and natural ability to nurture and to care for. Can men do that? Yes. Can women be protective? Yes. But it's in our instinct to build, protect, run to danger, and not the other way around. It is typical nature for a guy to say, get up, not to necessarily don't cry. We can get into a whole other tangent. Needless to say, let me just stop there. Men are built one way, women are built in a different way. What he starts to break it down to in the hate-love thing is you need two different things. You have to have both in order to have growth. Ooh, that's good. You have to have both in order to have growth. So he says, you have to learn to love grass and learn to hate weeds. If I love my grass, then I know how to hate weeds. Then I start to know what it looks like, what it smells like, how to get rid of it, how to kill it and not my grass. As a mother, right? If I know how to love someone so much so that I know their ins and outs, their likes and their dislikes, then if I have a father mentality, then I know to keep those dislikes away. What is going to harm my kids, what's out there to seek, kill, and destroy my kids or my spouse or my family. And so you have this 1-2 punch. Mother, father, grass, weeds, a love and a hate to say, I love who I am. I have to learn to hate the things that are there to take my joy, my happiness away. Self-realization. You have to know what it looks like, or else weeds from a distance looks like grass. If you ever looked at the hills, I live in the Central Valley, you can see the hills and they look nice and green and lush, but when you get there you realize, oh, this is not even grass, these are all weeds, but it looks nice. You go to a park and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this huge park and all this grass, and you realize, yo, it's not even grass, the whole thing is weeds. Because you didn't love the grass enough, you let the weeds take over, and that's called complacency. How do we combat complacency? Intentionality. How do we get to intentionality? We have to have self-realization. So in having difficult conversations with people, there's got to be a self-realization to say, the reason why I don't like it is I'm afraid. I don't know how to do it. What is the other person going to think? Like, I have worry. What are they going to think? How am I going to feel after? What if it goes wrong? And we have this negative reality that we have this negative condemnation where we make it our reality. I told somebody the other day that there's a study that says that from the day that we're born all the way to 18, we hear no 400 times a day, which comes out to over 2 million times in our upbringing. Which no wonder it's difficult for guys or girls to ask each other out on a date. No wonder it's difficult for us to ask our parents for $20 or shoot, you don't even need $20 now is not gonna get you anything. Why we need $100 to go out? And we're never going to ask for that because we were always told to sit down, shut up, and only talk or speak when spoken to. And if you go back to the podcast, there's a podcast episode that talks about this little girl who talks about the engagement and the lack of engagement with kids. And the whole thing was the reason why we lack in having difficult conversation now, conversation back then in the old episode, was this baby, this kid who was told to sit down and shut up, the lack of engagement. And even now, right? On our phones, on our tablets, on the TV, on YouTube, we'd rather be engaged in good things or heartfelt, warm things than sit down and have difficult conversations. And now that baby has now turned into our manager or our coworker or us. And now it's difficult for us to have difficult conversations. It's hard for us because we don't know how to communicate. We're worried about the what ifs, the negative what ifs, because we've heard no and negativity to over 2 million times in the time of 0 to 18. So now what was wired, we have to disengage and rewire things to say, no, I am going to have this conversation. I don't like this about myself and I am going to change it. So this whole first piece is self-realization. I want you to sit down and write out the things that maybe you're not happy with that you can control. Here's the thing. You can't control the uncontrollables. You have to let that go. But the things that I can control, maybe my appearance, right? I talked about me not liking my hair, not liking my teeth, changing those things. Our weight, right? I did this. I don't know if you guys that are listening to it compared to watching. I grabbed my side, in Spanish, the lonja, if you will, that the love handle. I can afford to lose weight. I can control that. Control the controllables. I don't like it. I'm going to do something about it. Now what's the next plan to do that? And it goes back into season 3 about self-improvement, things like that. But here's the main key. When I can have a difficult conversation with myself and do it on a regular basis of, all right, what's next? I'm not going to have a victim mentality. I'm going to have a victor mentality. I don't like this. I'm going to fix it, change it. I'm on my way to not perfectionism, but on my way to improvement. Get 1% better every single day. I want to know more about communication. Read a book about it. Watch a podcast, listen to a podcast, find a mentor, right? We talked about all this stuff in season 3. But this season is all about how do I get better as a leader so that I can lead other people. And if you're not in a leadership position, this season 4 is going to help you feel and be a veteran in rookie shoes. A lot of great people going to come in here in season 4, but we have to have difficult conversations so that we can have difficult conversations with somebody else. And here's the thing with having difficult conversations is we call the person up, not out, right? So let's transition a little bit into having a difficult conversation with somebody else, but I'm going to bring it right back to having a difficult conversation with ourselves. We call the person up, not out, because when we call somebody out, it excludes them. But when we call the person up, it elevates them. What you do is you call out the situation, you call out the problem, but you call up the person. Hey, I'm calling you up in this situation. My expectation for you is this. And the reason why I set the expectation so high, I set the bar so high, is because I know your work. I know what you're capable of. I know your work ethic. I know the kind of person you are. So I'm setting these high standards because I know that you can achieve them. Taking this back to self. I am not the issue. The way I eat is an issue. I am not the issue. The way I was wired to speak is the issue. How I react is the issue. I'm not the issue. I can change. So ask those questions to your kids. What do I do that you enjoy that I can continue to do? What are those things that you don't like that I can stop doing? Do that to your kids, your spouse. Do it for your employees, your boss, the one that's above you. Here's the deal. I think I said this maybe in a podcast before, but there should always be learning from above and below, which is why I go to my kids, why I go to my wife, why I go to staff, why I go to managers, why I go to my parents, why I go to friends. KRS-One, old school rapper, says, if the younger generation was just to be humble enough to learn from the older generation, they will become wiser amongst their peers. If the older generation was to just bite their tongue and learn from the younger generation, they will become faster amongst their peers. And it's a win-win situation. So what I'm telling you today is, when you ask this question, ask it of the people below you and ask it to the people that are lateral to you and ask it of those people above you and get some self-realization. Here's the deal. A lot of people might be like, oh, that's what they think and they don't know any different. Bro, but if 4 or 5 people tell you the same thing, that you talk too much and you don't listen, or yeah, you have an RBF, or you're not approachable, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you have to be okay with getting hit in the chin and then hitting back. And I'm not saying to tell the person off. What I'm telling you is when you get hit in the chin and it sucks and it hurts, and you get hit with adversity, and you get hit with an issue and a problem that you are capable of fixing, then you have to hit back and say, all right, let's get to work. And here's the thing, we could talk about this other thing, and I just said it, and it's triggering a thing that I wanted to do a podcast on, and I'll talk a little bit about it now. We shouldn't call work work because we have to work. One, we get to work, but that's not the point. So count your blessings, right? I don't get to go to work. I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work, right? I don't have to make dinner, but I get to make dinner. Like there's some honor and privilege in that. So count your blessings. But that's not the case. That's not what I wanted to talk about. Work shouldn't be called work because it's work. I had just said moments ago, 10, 15 seconds ago, it's time to go to work. Like, let's get to work. There's an issue and a problem. I'm reading up on it. I'm learning how to improve. Now let's get to work. Work should be, I'm doing the tasks that need to be done. That is the actual work part of it. However, work should be called work from the saying, let's get to work. And this is what I mean. Excuse me. There's got to be a better, bigger, faster way to do the paperwork. There's got to be a bigger, better, connected way for me to work with my employees, to lead my employees. Let me learn something. Again, read a book, go to a seminar, podcast, find a coach, mentor, whatever. And as you're learning these things, what things can I apply today? What one thing can I apply today, this week, to improve? And when you learn it, get excited about it, and start to put it to work. So when you wake up in the morning, you're saying, all right, you should be motivated to say, I've learned this thing. I've been reading this thing for the last 2 weeks. I'm making some tweaks. Now let's go to work. So when you go to work, you get to work on the thing that you're improving while doing the work that you're supposed to do. Don't let work be work, but let's turn the thought process in. Now let's go to work. I want to work on the things that I'm improving. Podcasts, seminars, trainers, whatever, don't mean crap unless you put it to work. So let's get to work. And this first piece is self-realization. So all I wanted to tell you today in this episode is before we dive into having difficult conversations with others, we got to practice first. Can you sit down today at home, at work, on a break and say, before I go talk to my son or daughter, before I talk to my husband or wife, before I talk to my siblings, before I talk to my parents, before I talk to coworkers, my boss, my staff, if somebody was to bet me $1,000 on what they would say that I need to continue to do, and $2,000 on every answer I get right for the thing that I do that people just don't like, that I need to change, it's better to hear it from yourself first. And that is the key. Self-realization. How do I get better? I have to see this. Do not be a victim, but be a victor. So what are those things about maybe your appearance? What is it about your work ethic? What is it about the cleanliness of your home or your room? Talking to myself here. Juan, what is it about the relationship with your son that could be better? What would he say? This is what he would say. And here's the deal. I want to keep myself private because my business is my business. My family's business is our business. I'm not going to put our stuff out there. Could the relationship with me and my boys be better? Yeah. Is my relationship with my boys pretty darn good? You're damn right it's good. And we go through issues just like any other family. We have conversations just like any other family. We go through everything from puberty to, girls and homework and cleanliness of rooms. And we go through this stuff quite a bit. And my boys and I have had really, really good conversations. And then there's been conversations where I'm like, bro, you shouldn't have said that. But yet I go back into their room and I say, hey, let me apologize. And there's I statements involved. But the reason why I can get to that place of the I statements is because I constantly pick and I choose to go through a self-realization course, funnel, whatever you might want to call it, to say, hey, I need to do better. How can I do better? And let me think of all the things that they might say that I could do better on. Let me start there. And then that'll give me a little bit more ammo so when I hear it, it's not so bad. And then ask them, what can I do better? So this first piece, how do we have difficult conversations with other people? We practice. How do we practice? We have to have difficult conversations with ourselves. Why don't we have difficult conversations with ourselves? Because we don't want to feel or be negative. But don't be a victim, be a victor. I don't like this about myself. I don't like that I'm easily ticked off. I don't like the fact that I cuss. I don't like the fact that I never spend, this was me, I never spend money on myself. I just got the shirt and these pants and the stuff in the background like I bought. Like, it's easier for me to buy stuff because I've been working on it. I would rather buy things for other people than for myself. And I just started to think like, Juan, you work your butt off. Like, you're pouring into people, you get paid. Take your family on vacation. Go take yourself out to eat. Go to a movie by yourself. Like, buy stuff for your office. Buy new clothes. You're not always wearing black and gray. And so now the shirt they got on is blue with a little bit of orange, and it's colorful. But I feel better because of it. Does it suck at first? Yes. But the road to success is so much greater when you're on it. Here's the other thing that I'll tell you that this guy, Preston Morrison, a podcast that I listen to called The Leader's Cut, has said, and I'll end with this, is that he says, and it's a podcast that he has, and he's with a guy by the name of Tim Ross, and he says, it's not about the place, it's about the path. Don't try to be perfect, because you'll never get to that place. But it's about who am I becoming on the path? Who am I meeting on the path with the books that I'm reading, the people that I'm being introduced to, the hands that I'm shaking, the groups that I'm around, the things that I'm pruning off of me, the things that I'm growing in. It's not about the place, it's about the path. Get excited about becoming a better person. Get excited about having a difficult conversation with yourself, because you know what's going to lead to? Having difficult conversations with other people. And it's going to turn, check this, a little insight, even though I speak on this a lot, a little insight to what's to come. It will transform from having a difficult conversation to having a courageous conversation. And it'll go from having a courageous conversation to having community within our conversation. It'll become better, but you have to start somewhere. The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is now. So sit down, let's write it out. DM me and let me know what you want to work on. Maybe it's a good idea. It'll be an idea for a future podcast episode. But let me leave you with this. If you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, you would have heard probably a commercial that talks about a webinar or a masterclass that I'm putting on. Come join me. Have the conversation around difficult conversations about becoming a better leader, becoming a better version of you moving forward. Self-realization in combating complacency with the armor of intentionality. If you're interested in wondering what it's like to become better, and you want to have a conversation over and about how do we do that, hit me up. DM me the word "Let's Talk," either on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and I'll give you information on how you can join me in a conversation regarding how do we become intentional over ourselves, over our families, and over those that we lead. That's it. Welcome to season 4. I'm excited for the next episode where you will meet our next guests coming in. The setups might look a little bit different, as I've ordered a whole bunch of new things for the podcast and how I'm going to do future episodes. So stay tuned. Stay with me as we kind of make some changes with the look, the lighting, the audio, the editing. But I love you so much. Thank you for joining me today. I can't wait until next week when we can sit down together and have our next discussion. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you and discuss with you next week. Let's go get it.